Hey everybody, welcome back to my book chat channel. So this is another book review for Silver Shamrock Publishing. This one is called The Crucifixion Experiments by Gord Rollo. And as per usual, we're going to jump into the synopsis and roll from there. Jake Mercer's life is spiraling out of control. As a criminal profiler and one of the senior homicide investigators in the Oakland Police Department, he spent the last 25 years getting inside the heads of killers and trying to understand the way they think. He's the best at what he does, but constantly playing in the minds of madmen carries a heavy price, leaving Jake out of shape, alcoholic loser, suspended from active duty. The murders have started. Another serial killer is prowling the streets now, a violent lunatic who's making a game of nailing retired Catholic priests to trees and bridges and hydro poles around the city. Torture and murder isn't enough. The predator experimenting with the bodies of his victims to further whatever diabolical plan only they seem to know. The experiments have begun. Broken down or not, Lieutenant Mercer just might be the only man who can catch this killer before the frightened citizens of Oakland start to panic. Reinstated back onto the force and trying his best to stay out of the bottle, Jake finds himself teamed up with two rookie detectives in what will be his most difficult case ever and quite possibly his last. So diving into this one really pulled me in more ways than one. I really liked the cover of the cover that's shown on Goodreads is slightly different than the one that I was sent from Silver Shamrock for the ARC. It's a little bit darker. It's got what looks like a priest being strung up between two parts of in the middle of an overpass, old-fashioned overpass bridge. And I really like the way that cover is done a little bit more than the one that they're showing on Goodreads. I find there's a lot of mystery, a lot of suspense in it, and it really just makes you curious as to, what exactly you have in store or what they have in store for you. When I first went into reading this, just by the title by itself, and even with a little bit of the description, I naturally assumed it was just going to be, honestly, the crucifix and the possessed is what comes to mind. I really thought that we were going to be diving into another one of those, kids in trouble and having to save them from demons and being possessed and all those kinds of things. And that's exactly what I thought, the whole Rosemary's Baby situation. And I really thought that's what we were diving into. But on the contrary, this one turned out to be somewhat of a cop drama. And for me, I really enjoy a good cop drama. So it lured me in even further once I realized what I was diving into. I really enjoyed the characters of the story, both the older detective or the more experienced detective and the two rookies. I found the rookies kind of entertaining as they were following around and trying to keep up with the more experienced detective, Jake, and then trying to keep him in line, trying to stay on top of the case, and of course, just trying to keep one foot ahead of everything else while trying to get their shoes wet as they're brand new and, trying to establish themselves. And it can be hard when you get a very high profile case like this, when there is a lot of panic, a lot of blood and gore, and then because of the situation of the case itself, with the fact that they're going after priests, it becomes high profile very, very quickly and ends up getting a lot of media attention, and then it usually draws in the attention of the mayor and all the local I'm looking for a word, the politicians and stuff in the area, which just makes things even more difficult because they're busy trying to cover their back end and make things look good and keep everything peaceful, while really a good cop is just trying to do his job, trying to solve the murder, trying to put an end to the horror and bloodshed, and trying to give a sense of peace and closure to those who have lost loved ones all in the same time. So it's something that I really enjoy about a cop drama, because there are so many different moving pieces to it that anything can change at the drop of a hat, and when it's written really well, it makes it even that more interesting. So again, going into this one, I really enjoyed the way that it was written. I felt that it drew me in pretty much are hook, line, and sinker right from the get-go. I really enjoyed going through and experiencing what Jake was dealing with, with the fact that profilers do get a lot of crud and a lot of, they don't get a ton of support because they have to go through a whole different type of training and a whole different type of investigating, it's getting into the minds of these other people, and that can really take its tolls. Bit of a side note, for those who believe in, the curse of the Joker, for example, if you immerse your mind in a lunatic for any lengthy period of time, that can have true side effects on people. Some people can keep themselves distant and keep it separated and walk away unchanged, and some people can't. For those who have played or been the Joker, they either go completely insane or we lose another really good actor. So, just as a bit of a sidebar example. So when profilers really get into the minds of psychopaths and some of these other very interesting people, it can, especially when you've been doing it for as long as he has, it can really take its toll. So, and everyone has a different way of dealing with it, and not necessarily great ways, just ways that work for them. And in this case, it was alcohol, which is pretty common, I think. At least, that's what all the books and cop dramas make you out to believe, that basically a cop's best friend or a detective's best friend is the bottle, which is very unfortunate. But I really liked how the story managed to pull you in alongside the detective's journey in that respect, and you get to learn a little bit more about him and his life and, the toll that this job has really taken in on him, while still being very much immersed in the case that's going on. And, I found it interesting that the killer was picking on priests, and then, you eventually find out why. And, once you find out that reason, I no longer have any sympathy for the priests, because it's a well-known fact that not all priests are good. And they end up shedding some light on that, which again makes things very interesting. So from an overall perspective, I thought this was a very well-written, well-described, very well-rounded story that I think could appeal to just about anybody who enjoys a good cop drama. I think that if you really enjoy, TV shows like Criminal Minds or CSI or NCIS, even SWAT, some of those other ones that have come and gone, and some of them are still going, of course, you might actually really enjoy this particular story. Again, I thought that, it had a really good beginning, middle, and end, and I could definitely see myself reaching to pick up more books from this particular author, especially if this is the kind of thing that he likes to write. So definitely one that has stuck with me a little bit more than the others, as I found myself really enjoying this one. Definitely had its graphic moments, but I felt that it wasn't over the top. It was well done, even in that perspective. So, and for those who have been following me long enough to know, I don't like gore for the sake of gore. So to say that this one was well done, I think is a pretty good compliment to the author himself. So yeah, that is my thoughts and opinions on the Crucifixion experiments. Again, I'd love to know what you think if you've picked up this book and would like to read it for yourself. This is another one that I happen to have a duplicate copy. Shamrock has been slowly sending me duplicates over the last 6 months. So there are some books that I have multiple copies of. And just like I mentioned in my previous book review, if you are interested in picking this up and would like a physical copy for yourself, feel free to reach out to me. I'm not selling them. I am merely giving them away, as long as you don't mind paying for the shipping yourself, because shipping can get expensive depending as to where you're located, or we can work something out, whatever your situation might be. Either way, feel free to reach out to me. I'm on all major social media platforms, or just leave a comment down below and we can chit chat about it. But yeah, in the meantime, I hope you all have a really great week, and I will be back soon with another book review. Happy reading.